Fala amigos do Alma Hard, tudo beleza? Aqui é o Leandro Isopo e viemos trazer mais uma entrevista internacional para vocês. Agora com Stevie Rachelle, vocalista do TUFF, que também já fez parte aí do Tales from the Porn, projeto de hard rock aqui do Brasil, o Shameless, que é um projeto que já dura mais de 20 anos, banda alemã de glam metal, e ele vai contar tudo para nós sobre todas as suas bandas, as novidades que permeiam aí a sua carreira, sobre a vinda dele aqui pro Brasil para os shows. Então vai ser um papo bem legal e agradecer a Silvia aí pelo suporte na entrevista também. Então é isso, espero que gostem.
Thank you very much, Stevie, again, for having us. And we are here with Leandro and me, that you already know probably. Silvia, Leandro, and Stevie Rachelle from TUFF. He's going to be here in Brazil in the next few weeks. And we are all very excited because he's already a companion of us that had been a couple of times here already.
Yep.
And so, how are the feelings for the next shows? And you'll be playing in the Monsters of Rock cruise as well. And how are the feelings?
You know, I'm excited to come back to Brazil. If my memory is correct, I think this will be my 7th time coming to Brazil. I came in 2006. I came in 2011, and then I was there, I think 2 or 3 times with Tales from the Porn. And then I've been there a couple times in the last few years. So yeah, I'm excited. We're going to play a few different shows in Sao Paulo, Curitiba, and I believe is it called Belo Horizonte?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be the first time I've ever played there. I've played Curitiba before, and I played Sao Paulo every time I've come to Brazil. But this will be my first time in Belo Horizonte, and I'm super excited. To check out, you know, another area, another city, another district, another region in Brazil. It's one of my favorite places to play. I love it. I can't wait.
So, Steve, his first album will be released on vinyl. I don't know if already released by the vinyl or will be released yet.
No, it's actually out. As a matter of fact, I have one right here. I'll show it to you. So this is the cover. As everybody knows, they've seen that before on CD and cassette. The back is different. Is it clear in the video?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the front and the back of the cover, the jacket. Then the insert is 2-sided, full color, all the lyrics, and then there's 2 options. Let me get this out of the way. There's 2 options for the vinyl. There's the traditional black, which came out awesome. And then because Fist First has got an orange texture to it,
beautiful.
The orange, which looks really killer. I'm so stoked at how this came out. So there's a black vinyl and an orange vinyl. And as you see, it's got full color, 2-page insert, all the lyrics, all the credits, some cool photos from that same time frame that we've never put out before. And I literally just got them in stock a week ago today. And of course we do have, you know, the What Comes Around Goes Around, which is a gatefold. And then we have the glam years. So we're kind of expanding the RLS Records TUFF vinyl catalog, and the Fist First is the newest one. This is the 30th anniversary. Fist First came out in 1994, so it was 30 years ago this spring that we first released that on CD and cassette, and now we have the vinyl version. So I'm stoked, and yes, I will be bringing some down to Brazil.
Yes, of course you will bring them to the Brazil, and I will buy one.
Yeah.
All right.
I asked about that record because it was released by BMG in 95 by Religious Fix, yeah?
Correct. So what happened is this. TUFF was signed to Atlantic Records when we did What Comes Around Goes Around. We signed in 1990. We started recording our record at the end of 90. It came out in 91. And then, you know, a couple of years later, we got dropped. But before we got dropped, Atlantic Records gave us money to record, you know, demos, new songs for record number 2. So we went into the studio in the spring of 1992 for Atlantic Records and recorded 9 songs. We recorded In Dogs We Trust, Better Off Dead, God Bless This Mess, Rattle My Bones, Simon Says, and Electric Church. We also recorded 3 other tracks that have never been released, one of which was called Chemical Man, which is unfinished. And then there's a couple other rough instrumental pieces that we put together. So in total, we recorded 9 songs for Atlantic Records. At some point, we had a meeting with them, and some time went by, and they dropped us. So this is, of course, when grunge was really happening. And, you know, the label had Stone Temple Pilots as their premier grunge band that they were pushing. So we got kind of pushed to the side. So then what happened is at the end of 92 into 1993, TUFF signed a deal with a label called Grand Slam Records. Grand Slam was through IRS, and they had previously released White Lion, Cry Wolf, a handful of other bands. But in 1993, of course, the industry was changing and changing and changing. Grand Slam and IRS kind of went under. They went, you know, out of business. So we had signed to them, and they were getting ready to release, or were planning to release, our second record, which included the recordings we had done previously for Atlantic Records. But when Atlantic dropped us, they said, see you later, take your tapes, you're all good. So we had signed a Grand Slam, then they went out of business. So in early 1994, I just made the decision. I said, I'm not waiting on record labels anymore. I'm going to do this myself. So I formed RLS Records, and we had demoed a few other songs, Tied to the Bells, I Like What I See, 16 Tons. Those songs we had demoed as well, and we decided to take the 6 finished tracks from the Atlantic demos and a few newer tracks that we had demoed, and we put out Fist First in 1994. Once we put out Fist First, it sold pretty well. We did a couple of tours, and we were moving units, and then other labels started to approach us and said they were interested to sign us. At some point, we signed a deal with a label that's based out of Europe called MMS Mausoleum, which had distribution through BMG. They said, we want to re-release this record, but we'll give you a little money, go make a couple more songs, and then we also want to retitle it with all different artwork. So I said, okay. So we went to Philadelphia, we recorded Don't Follow the Loser and a couple other songs, Makes Me Sick. And then we compiled those 3 new tracks with the 9 existing tracks for a total of 12, and we put it out as Religious Fix. And that was in June of 1995. So that's how the Religious Fix and the Fist First record is kind of one and the same, but at the same point, they're a little different because one was self-released by us, one was released through a label, and there's a lot of little twists and turns to make that happen, you know?
Do you think that helped the promotion and released the label like BMG, or did it make a difference?
It's so long ago. It's 30 years ago. I mean, while I do remember a lot of what happened, we sold a lot of records on our own. We toured on our own. Being signed to that label at that time, it didn't change anything. It's not like we got signed to them and we were suddenly back on MTV or touring in arenas. No, we were playing the same kind of clubs. We were getting paid the same kind of money. The only difference is, instead of me selling a religious or a Fist First CD or cassette at a show for $10 or through a PO box, the difference is now there's this company, this record label that says, okay, we call it Religious Fix, and it's in a bunch of stores, go buy it. But, you know, with all respect to them and to us, nobody cared. You know, in 1994, 95, 96, in the middle of the 90s, grunge had become so popular, and being anything that resembled an 80s hair band from Hollywood or Sunset Strip was just, it wasn't acceptable anymore. It wasn't cool. So it's not like being signed to the label did anything dramatically different. It only ended up in them giving us a little bit of money and repackaging it. And, you know, we went and did a couple of tours, and within a year it was all over with. And then at that point, by the end of 95 into the end of 96, me and George decided to, at the end of 95 into 96, we just said, okay, time to put the band on pause for a while, because it had been 10 years and a lot of things had happened, different record labels, different managers, our bass player left, our drummer left. So we were kind of struggling,
And so you were telling about the last part of the decade of the 90s.
Right.
In 1998, you released your first solo album called Who the Hell Am I?
Correct.
A good album, but with a different proposal. Sweet, with acoustic songs that even reflected in the next record, since the 66.
Yeah.
Why did you choose this genre as your first solo register?
Well, the thing is, when you're performing as a singer or a guitarist or any type of art form, you're an actor, you're a model, you're doing whatever you're doing, people immediately decide what they think of you, based on what you look like or what you sound like or what color your hair is or what your voice might sound like or what your body might be like. They automatically pigeonhole you. So, I was in, 80s bands and obviously sang for TUFF for about 10 years. And it was long hair and leather clothes and studs. And, we were doing the whole Van Halen, Motley Crue, Rat thing. That's what we were. We were, a product of our environment. And we grew up listening to those bands, Judas Priest, Motley Crue, Van Halen, Rat, Bon Jovi, whatever. Now it's, the end of the 90s, it's, almost 15 years later, I'm 30 some years old. And I didn't look, I didn't live, I didn't think, and I didn't exist the same way at 32 years old that I did when I was 22 or when I was 19. I mean, that's basic for anybody. I mean, what you looked like and what you did and what you really thought of, on a daily basis when you were 18, 19 or 20, that's going to change when you're 30 or 32 or 35 or 40. So at some point I just thought, okay, let me strip it down. And these are songs that I had come up with a couple of co-writers. And I thought, one of the songs is about my grandpa. One of the songs is about my dog, just life, it wasn't about Sinner Street or Good Guys Wear Black or, all this stuff that we were singing about in 1987, 88, and 89. So I made that little adjustment to say, this is my solo record. This is who I am. Some people liked it. A lot of people didn't like it. People are like, oh, you don't have long hair anymore. You're not cool. You're not wearing a leather jacket anymore. It's like, I didn't wear a leather jacket 24 hours a day anyways, but what TUFF was doing at one point, that was TUFF. And when I decided to do a solo record like that, I wanted to change it and make a little bit of a statement. I'm very proud of that record. I did some shows with that record for a year or two, around Southern California. But had I done the exact same thing and just called it Stevie Rachelle, but sang and looked exactly the same way, it wouldn't have been that much of a departure. And then I wanted to challenge myself and do something a little different,
Steve, TUFF seems to have a tight connection with a lot of hair metal bands. How you contact between the Bret Michaels happened? That he composed the Wake Me Up from the first album, and we got John Korabs that collaborated like a guitarist in 2001. You keep in touch with each other in never seen before with each other.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. In the music business that I've been in for 35 plus years, I have tons of friends, tons of acquaintances. Some people I'm much closer to than others. It's just like with general life. I met John Corabi the second day I was in Los Angeles in 1987. I got here on a Thursday. I went out on a Friday to the Troubadour. I saw his band Angora play, and some guys that took me to the show introduced me to John that night. So we became friends then. And over the years, we've remained friends, even aside from music. Like, he's from Philadelphia. He loves the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm from Wisconsin. I like the Green Bay Packers. So every football season for years, usually during the football season, me and Corabi send a few text messages. Gilby Clark, he's from Ohio. He's a Browns fan. So me and Gilby always send messages about you know, his team and my team. And so there's a few of those guys that, you know, we're friends outside of music, and we talk about life. You know, we talk about kids, talk about whatever. As far as Brett's concerned, obviously, I've remained friends with him. Not as close, but you know, we've done a couple of shows where we were on the same festival with him. But when we played I think it was the Cat House live show, he came to our set early, and he stood on the side of the stage and watched our whole set and talked to us before we were going on. And I'm friends with his guitarist, Pete Evick. So a lot of these guys I'm friends with, you know, and the acquaintanceship, the relationship that we share 20, 30, 35 years later is different than it was when we were 20 or 22 or 25. Now we're all grown men. Well past our 30s or 40s. We're all in our 50s. Some of us in our 60s. Most of us have kids. Some of our kids are adults. Some of our kids have kids. So some of these guys have become grandparents. So it's a different communication. It's a different friendship than it was in 1988. Now that it's 2024. But yeah, I've remained friends with tons of guys.
That's nice to hear. And in 1917, you participated as a singer in a project called Tales from the Barn with the Brazilian musicians. And I presume you will be working with them here again during your series of concerts.
Yeah. What originally happened is, I think it was in 2015 that Andy's son had reached out to me, the guitarist, and Bento Mello, the bassist, and they told me about their project, and they said, hey, we want to have an American singer. Would you be interested? So we started going back and forth. They sent me some demos. I would tell them, hey, let me sing on this song or that song. And eventually it turned into a whole record, which a lot of people liked. People were surprised. I myself was surprised at how good it turned out. And then I came down, we played different shows a couple times. But at some point, Andy has now since got married. He's become a father. So he's been spending a lot of time and energy focusing on being a family man. Bento, at some point, him and I talked, and I said, hey, if I come back down, maybe you can be my backup band. So Bento, who, as everybody knows, also plays in Souk 66, and he also plays in Night Singer. Bento's awesome. He's my main guy in Brazil now. So whenever I'm playing shows or going to come back, I always do it with Bento and his partner, Danny Poison. Those guys help me put the shows together. They help me put the band together. Bento's has Leo gone playing guitar and Gabs on drums. Those guys are great. We've done this a few times together. As Stevie Rachelle, the voice of TUFF, those guys have been my band. And I also have played with some of those guys, you know, when I did the Tales from the Porn shows. And I've known Danny going back to when he was in Bastards back in 2006. They opened up for me when I came down and played in Brazil. So I have a awesome group of friends down there, and all the people that I work with are awesome. And I'm so excited that not only do I get to come back to Brazil, but instead of just playing one show or two, this time we're going to play, you know, a few extras, including going to a few places I had never been before.
Yeah. You're going to like it. You're going to enjoy it very much. And I don't know any vocalist that had been into this many hair band and hard rock tributes as you do. It is very clear that you are an expert. And running through names such as Poison, Ted Nugent, even Styx. What was the one you enjoyed playing the most? The favorite band you enjoyed doing making a tribute?
Well, I mean, I think I've done like 20 of them, maybe 25. I did, as you said, Ted Nugent, Styx. I did Journey. I did Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Poison, The Cult, Kid Rock, Def Leppard, Bon Jovi. I love Bon Jovi. I did In and Out of Love, Def Leppard. I'm pretty sure. I think I did Too Late for Love. Motley Crue. I did Red Hot. Guns N' Roses. I did You're Crazy. Poison. I did Look What the Cat Dragged In. I mean, all of those were fun. Most of those I did in the late 90s, early 2000s. So as crazy as it seems, it's more than 20 years ago already. Some of them were 25 years ago. So it's just work. You know, I mean, I like music. I've been a singer for a long time, and when a label calls and says, "Hey, we're going to do a tribute to this record," most of them are put together, you know, with a variation of, you know, guys from the same genre. In other words, they'll do it, you know, an '80s reissue of Motley Crue or Guns N' Roses, and it's usually, you know, maybe Jizzy Pearl would sing a song, John Corabi, maybe Phil Lewis of LA Guns, myself. A whole bunch of different guys, you know, rest in peace, Janie Lane used to do a few, and rest in peace, Kevin DeBro used to do a few. All of those guys at some point have contributed to some of these records. And the fact that I get to be involved is always awesome. And it's also nice to make a little money for your work, you know?
Mm-hmm. And even though you are most known for this glam metal projects, there is still a dark side in your career, such as the Cheeseheads with Attitude, or CWA, a hip hop group with parodies, where your pseudonym was Stevie. Is it right?
Yeah. So what that is, and in America, obviously, you know, the National Football League is really popular. It's the most popular sport. The NFL is by far the biggest sport in America. So the football season is obviously starts in the fall and ends with the Super Bowl, which just was like a week ago. And I'm from Wisconsin, so the team that I'm most associated with and I like the most is the Green Bay Packers, which is like an hour from where I grew up. And at some point after TUFF had ended in the mid 90s, in 1996, I came up with this idea that I wanted to do this football project. Essentially, I just was like, let's do some music that kind of celebrates this football team that we love and my home state of Wisconsin and all the things that are similar to it. And I know that like Bento and the guys, they have specific teams that they really like for soccer down in Brazil. Yeah. You know, they love certain teams and they hate certain teams. The same thing applies for the Packer fans. Like we don't like the Cowboys, we don't like the Bears, we don't like the Vikings, but the Packers, we love the Packers. So anyways, I decided to combine my love of football and the fact that I'd been doing music for over 10 years and to say, let me do a music project, but it's all based around football and Wisconsin. Nothing to do with 80s, nothing to do with heavy metal, nothing to do with the Sunset Strip or anything like that. It was completely different. And it was in 1996 that we recorded an EP, we put it out, and it actually became very successful and it sold a lot. It didn't sell to the 80s community. It didn't sell to the hard rock community, but it sold to the people in Wisconsin that love the Packers and are proud of their state. And so it was just a whole nother project that kind of took on its own life. And over the years, we did like a half a dozen CDs, we did videos, we played shows all over, and it's been fun. So CWA is a really cool thing. But if you like TUFF or 80s, and then you look at that or listen to it, it's not even close. They're nothing alike. So
it's nice it came out like very well, the idea, right? Like,
yeah.
So you will be playing in the Glam Fest in São Paulo. Yep. With Pretty Boy Floyd. Yep. And we can say that you own the glam metal activist, especially when no one cared about the genre at all by the end of the 90s. The project Shameless was one of the first to reach out for this revival. Right. And the band is still around after 20 years and with more than 10 records released. What are the thoughts of this long-term project?
Well, Shameless is based out of Munich, Germany, and the main guy is Alex Michael, the bass player, and lead guitarist BC. So they came and reached out to me, and I think like 98 is when they first contacted me and said, hey, we're going to come to Los Angeles, we're going to record a record with Gilby Clarke, and there was some guests that were going to be involved: Eric Singer of Kiss, Bruce Kulick, Tracy Guns, Phil Lewis. A whole bunch of different people were going to be involved. And so Alex asked, would you be interested to sing a few songs on this record? And I said, sure. So I met them. I think I sang like 3 songs on the first record. And then little by little, then there was another record, then there was a tour, then another record, another tour, and another tour, and another record. And like you said, I think, there's been about 10 records released. And I've since went to Germany to tour with Shameless probably 15 times. And usually what we would do is one tour we'd play Germany and then play Austria, Switzerland, and Czech Republic. Then, you know, the next tour we'd play like Italy and Spain and France. Then the next tour would go a little further north and do parts of northern Germany, play Belgium and Denmark and Sweden. So over the years, it's become a secondary project for me. Obviously, it's a great time. It's awesome to see the other parts of the world, including many parts of Europe. And I will say that when Andy and Bento from Tales from the Porn first reached out to me, they said to me, we want to do something like you did with Shameless. So Shameless is obviously, for the most part, was a German band, and they wanted some American singers and lead guitarists to be featured on their record. And that's what Andy and Bento said. They wanted the band to be a Brazilian band, but they wanted to have an American singer. And so, you know, this thing with Shameless has been going on for almost 25 years now. And I'm about to announce I'm going there in July and August. We're going to play shows in Belgium and Holland and Germany. There's about 6 to 8 shows that are going to happen at the end of July and early August. And, you know, obviously that project has continued to be a good thing. I'm good friends with Alex and BC still.
And do you have any messages that you want the Brazilian public to know?
You know, I'm excited to come down to Brazil. As I said, I've been there many times. I've always played Sao Paulo on every trip. Curitiba, I've played, I think, once or twice before. And Belo Horizonte, this is going to be my first time there. The Glam Fest is going to be awesome. I'm playing 3 of the shows with Crazy Licks in Curitiba, Belo Horizonte, and then the Glam Fest. Those guys are from Sweden. I don't really know them that well. I know of them. I think we've probably crossed paths before, maybe on the Monsters of Rock cruise. But I think it's their first time in South America. So I'm excited for these shows. And I'll have T-shirts and baby dolls and CDs and vinyl. And make sure to come early, buy some swag, and look for me. I don't charge for meet and greets ever. Meeting me is free at every show anywhere. I never charge for meet and greets. So find me at the merch table or somewhere in the club, and I'll be happy to take pictures and sign everything.
Do you like any Brazilian sweets or food specifically?
I love food. You know, I first got introduced to the acai bowls back about 10 years ago, somewhere out here. I was actually at a jiu-jitsu tournament in Southern California. And then every time I go to Brazil, I look for some places that have that. But I mean, I love Brazil in general. I love the food. I love the people. I love the culture. And visiting there is always awesome. So
I'll be bringing you brigadeiros. That it's very sweet. It's from chocolate. I think you're going to like it. You're going to enjoy it.
I'd love it.
I will ask you the last question, Steve. What are the 3 greatest album of all time for you?
Well, I have to say, you know, right off the bat, you know, Motley Crue Shout at the Devil is without a doubt the reason I do what I do. I saw that tour in March of 1984. And so I saw that tour and immediately decided I wanted to be a singer. Soon after that, I saw Van Halen on the 1984 tour. And shortly after that, I saw Rat on the Out of the Cellar tour. So I love a ton of music, but those 3 records in 1984 are really the reason that I decided to become a singer.
These are the best choices ever.
Yeah.
Top 3.
It's good that talk about with musician that really love the glam metal era, but we talk about the other musicians they didn't like or did the past. You is still liking the style. You say very good. Remember the past.
You are good. the best we could ever have.
Well, thank you. You know, and while I do love my history, I also want to say that, you know, today I'm 57 years old. I'm going to be 58 in a couple weeks. So the way I look or dress or maybe even perform is probably a little different than when I was 21 or 22. I don't have long flowing blonde hair anymore, unfortunately. and I'm not super skinny, and I don't wear all the same clothing that I used to. In my heart, you know, I'm still you know, a rock and roller, you know, and I think that you know, we all have to age gracefully at some point to an extent, and I go out there and do the best I can with what I got, and I hope that people appreciate it, because at the end of the day, you know, it sounds cliche, but it's really the songs. So for me to come out and play the tracks that people want to hear, Good Guys Wear Black, All New Generation, So Many Seasons, I Hate Kissing You Goodbye, American Hairband, you know, and the rest of the TUFF catalog, or if I'm playing with Shameless, or when I played with Tales from the Porn, there's certain songs. And then in most of these shows, we always pay tribute to, or maybe throw a couple covers in at the end. We might jam a Motley Crue song. I've jammed Van Halen songs. I've jammed Kiss and Poison and Rat, and all of those bands were part of what kind of made up, not just me, but a lot of the 80s, and all these bands in general were influenced by these guys. So I pay tribute to it in the best way I can when I get out there on stage.
And thank you very much for having us today. Thank you very much. And I expect to see you in a couple of weeks. And having all the best.
I will be there. And for anybody looking online right now, you can go find me in all social media, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, under Stevie Rachelle or Stevie TUFF. Of course, my website, Metal Sludge, is there. There's stores at both tuffcds.com and the Sludge site. And I will have a bunch of merchandise in Brazil. So can't wait. I'll be leaving on the 12th, and I'll be arriving on the 13th. So I'll be in Sao Paulo that week doing rehearsals, getting ready for the weekend.
Wishing all the best. And
thank you very much.
Thank you again.